So let's get into the new lesson we have for tonight's session. That's specifically focusing on inference, what is inference, and then we'll go ahead with the inference question. Basically, as you see on the screen, we have a definition of what is inference, first of all. Inference itself is the ability to understand information that is not directly stated in a text. It is what we have as the inference itself. And basically, let me add something here that every passage, every text, so no matter it's on an international test or outside of a test, every text has got two types of meaning involved. The first one is the implicit meaning, and the second is explicit meaning. The implicit meaning is the indirect idea expressed, or the indirect message expressed by that specific sentence. We call it the basic meaning. And if it is on an international test, the questions would be organized on what we have as basic comprehension, and it tests our basic comprehension skill. Now, in the implicit meaning of a text is what we have as the indirect idea, or that indirect conclusion we need to make out of what is stated in a text. And that's exactly what we have as the inference itself. So the inference is getting the point of a specific text, which is indirect, or it's indirectly stated, it is implicit, and the writer doesn't tell it with the words, okay? With the words directly, I mean. So in inference, we are supposed to find out the indirect idea stated in a text. It means we need to read between the lines by combining these features that are very important. These features could be clues from the text. We will use them in order to make that indirect meaning, or to get it, to grab the idea. We will use our background knowledge, what we already know about the topic, and then we will use the logical thinking. We'll use our logical reasoning or logical thinking in order to guess, in order to have the right conclusion stated into the text. So that's what we have as the inference itself. So in inference, we need to use all these important points in order to get the indirect meaning stated inside the text, the clues that are stated inside the text, our general background information about the topic, and logical thinking. That logical thinking is simply our logical reasoning, which we need to use and then get the point. So these are very important, and combine them and make the right guess, which is logical. So simply, in simple words, if we call inference is a combination of these things, okay? What the text says, plus what you already know, and then what's the hidden meaning, or what's that hidden message which the writer wants to convey. So that's what we have as the inference. The inference is a combination of these points. What the text says, what we already know, we'll use the clues, and then we'll find out the hidden meaning using our logical reasoning. Let's get into the example. Consider we have got this text. It's a simple example. We may say, Ali grabbed his umbrella and ran outside. So the first thing, here we have umbrella, here we have Ali, and running outside. So these are the words, basic things that the text says itself. The streets were already wet. So here we have wait, the street and wait. These are the clues, the words used inside the sentence. Now, what we can get out of this text. So we have umbrella, here we have running outside. So then we have the streets, and the streets were already weight. So this is what the text says. Now, let's see, let's somehow get into what we already know. So basically when the streets are weight, so what do we think of it? So, or when someone has got an umbrella and runs outside, so what do we think of it? So what does it want us to know? Basically, that's the inference. So the inference could be, it's probably raining outside. But do we have inside the text saying that the word rain itself? No, we don't have any word by the name of rain. Okay, so it's a simple example of what we call is inference, right? So it's probably raining. It is an inference we make out of this text. A simple example. We have the basic information, which is stated here. Then we guess what we already know. For example, as I mentioned here, when there is the street and the streets are weight. So what do we logically conclude? We can logically conclude that it's probably raining because someone has grabbed the umbrella and the streets are weight. So it shows that outside is raining. These are all the logical clues from the text that we can use in order to guess the implicit meaning. So this is what the inference itself is. Now let's get into the inference question. Inference question. The inference question is exactly the same as what we had in inference itself. Inference question tests our ability to draw conclusion based on information provided in a text. That's the main purpose of inference question. The inference question is exactly asking what we can draw indirectly or draw conclusion indirectly from what the text is giving us, what the text is telling the message. So from what is stated, which is basic understanding of the text or direct understanding, we have to find out the meaning behind the text. So the meaning behind that specific sentence. That's what we have as the inference question itself. Unlike factual questions, which are explicitly stated, we can directly find the answer into it. The inference questions require understanding what the author implies. Implies simply means tells indirectly or suggests but does not directly state. That's what the inference question tests. It asks us to find out that or that information which is indirectly stated. What's that one? And we need to choose the answer choice which has got that indirect conclusion. So it measures our ability to comprehend indirect messages. That's the purpose of the inference question. Now, the thing is, simply, so we have had an introduction to that. What they ask us to do, they ask us to understand implied meanings, it means the indirect meaning, and then draw conclusion, reasonable conclusions that the author expects the reader to reach. What is that indirect conclusion the writer wants you to reach? That's the second thing the inference question asks us to understand. Now, how the inference question is worded is another point. These are the common wordings that we may have for inference question. It means how to identify this one. We can check out for these question lists. The list here is provided. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? What does it use? Inferred. The passage implies that the author suggests which of the following about, so suggest, infer, implies. The email is likely intended. So we have this for inference question. These are the common wording we have for the inference question. We can identify that it is inference question. So simply the inference question uses these simple words. The words like infer, we need to use the word infer, imply, suggest, and likely. They often indicate inference question. Okay. And beside these words, we may have other words as well. For example, instead of inferred, it might use the word inference or inferring, and similarly.
Sir, sorry for interruption. We don't have the screen.
So let's get into this example inference question. If you take a look at the question carefully, here we have which of the following can be inferred from the passage excerpt from this part of the text about the candles before the 19th century. So which word identifies that it is inference question? The word inferred. So just for a minute, please go ahead, read this text. Okay, find out the indirect message that it conveys about the candles before the 19th century. And then we'll go to the answer choices. Yeah, so you may read it. Okay, so thank you very much. So let's have a short explanation about it. As we have seen inside the question, the keyword, first of all, we have got the word inferred. Okay, inferred shows that it is inference question. It's inference. And then the next keyword which is used here is candle, right? About candles before the 19th century. It means we have to find out the part of the information which would be about candles before the 19th century, and then draw our conclusion. And basically, the first sentence of this passage excerpt is about the candles before the 19th century. Here we have the 19th century brought with it a burst of new discoveries. It's one part. And inventions that revolutionized the candle industry and made lighting available to all. So here we have new discoveries. It means the discoveries that they were not before, and inventions again. So new discoveries and inventions. So these inventions or these discoveries revolutionized, so made a big change in what? In the candle industry. And then it caused that everyone access to lighting. So here we can infer that they were not available to everyone, because here we have new discoveries. It means before that, these discoveries were not. Or when it says new inventions, it means before the 19th century, these inventions were not available. So it is the indirect message that this sentence will convey. So C is the correct choice. They were not available to everyone. Here we have candle before the 19th century, so that's the correct choice. If you consider other ones, A, they did not smoke when they were burned. So we have here to mid 19th century, early to mid 19th century, a process developed to refine tallow. So it's not the main point that it gives, or the indirect main message. B, they produced a pleasant odor as they burned. So it's not what we can infer. They contained sulfuric acid It's not again. Let's get into the next one. Here we have cognitive load theory. The question asks, what can be inferred from the passage about the rule of instructional designers? What were the rules? So, go ahead. So, let's check out which one is the correct choice. Yeah, you did a great job. First of all, look at the question. The question has got a keyword here. The keyword is what we have as the word rule. It means what's the function, what role these instructional designers play. This keyword can identify or can help us guess which one could be the logical inference we may make. If we go on with the first one, they focus primarily on increasing the intrinsic difficulty of the subject matter. So let's read it here. Moreover, it adds information to the previous point. Here we have the previous point was about the long-term memory, which has a vast capacity, and the working memory, which is limited. And it said that when the working memory has lots of data at once, it will cause mental overload. So here it shows that one. And then when we have the idea of instructional designers often distinguish, means they name it in a different way, distinguish between intrinsic load, they give it intrinsic load, which is the inherent difficulty of the material, and the extraneous load, which is caused by the way information is presented. So it is the definition of what they are focusing, okay? And now what do they do? What's the rule? By reducing unnecessary distractions and breaking complex concepts into smaller, manageable sequence, educators it says educators can optimize the learning process. What is the function of the word optimize here? Optimize, it means they can customize it. They can reduce the load of the work or the load of the learning process and learn it better. So it's a kind of optimize. It means here, as we have in B, it says restructure information. So restructure information simply means optimize the learning process. To minimize the mental resources waste on distractions. So mental resources, it gives that one. So just unnecessary distractions, breaking complex concepts. Yeah. So if you put them together from the first part, which was about the long-term memory and working memory and how it causes overload, mental overload, and then if you put them together, the correct choice would be B, because it's not, or its main rule is not to focus on the intrinsic difficulty. So yeah, A is not right. C, the same thing. Here it uses a specific word. They should be exposed. So when it says the word should, it conveys a different message. It means it is like an advice is good. So it doesn't say that one, to say that as much data as possible. So it was opposite of that. Their rule is not to cause overload or mental overload. Their rule was to optimize the work, the learning process, and help the students to retain information better. So here should be exposed, it's not. And D, they prefer teaching software interfaces over mathematical equations. So again, it gives us the information which is provided here. We have, okay, and then it is supported in the rest of the text here, but it is a specific detail. It doesn't show the rule of instructional designers. Okay, so this is what we have for the inference. Now, the thing is, how to answer inference questions. What strategies would work best in order to answer these questions? The first strategy in order to answer this question is to use the information stated in the text. Always read the passage carefully, understand it, and then go ahead with the indirect meaning which is provided. So read that relevant part first, analyze it, understand it deeply, because that basic understanding, that first understanding of the text is determining how you can analyze it, how you can get the indirect meaning or the inference of the text. So that's the first thing. The next step is to look for logical connections. Logical connections. What logical connections might be stated there? Is it a cause and effect relationship? Is that the kind of connection used inside the text? Is it a comparison? Is it a contrast? Or other types of logical patterns that suggest unstated conclusions? For example, the passage might be chronological, might be telling a process, might be expository relationship or informative relationship, might be definition. So these are important logical connections that we might have in our text. As we have had this example, that example showed a kind of definition because it talked about the overload cognitive load theory, right? So there were two types of definition for this, two types of theories that they talked about or how they describe cognitive load theory. So we have to be careful of these types of connections. That's the second thing. Look for logical connections inside the text. Because often when the questions get harder, so we have to put different parts of the text together in order to guess correctly. And then the next thing is avoid answers that go too far beyond the text. Or simply, the incorrect choices would often tell you the information which is not supported, like we had in the answer D in our previous question. Or often it goes beyond what is the text saying. It changes the idea or it brings up a detail as a main point. So there are the changes that the incorrect choices may have to tempt you choose it. The next thing is consider the author's tone and purpose. Consider the author's tone and purpose. It simply means we need to understand what is the author's intent. What does the writer want us to know? That's the author's intent. We will check out for the clues. For example, in the answer choice C, we had the word should. So should is expressing a different view than when it says is or are. So they're different. That's how it shows the tune and the purpose of the author. So we have to be careful. And lastly, we have to go on with the process of elimination, as we did in the example. We try to find out the incorrect choices, we delete that one, and then the remaining answer choice would be the best answer. So eliminate the answers that contradict the information, eliminate the answer choices that they manipulate, means they bring changes to the main point, or eliminate the answer choices that they're not supported by the information in the passage, eliminate the answer choices that they give you outside information. So these are what we can do for answering the inference question. Let's recap it. In order to answer inference question, first, read the passage very carefully, understand the explicit meaning. Second, look for logical connections. Look how the passage is organized. Is it going on with the cause and effect relationship, comparison, contrast, or other types of logical patterns? Third, look for the answer choices that they can give you the indirect message, and avoid the answers that they will go too far beyond the text, or they might say something which is not supported by the text. And the fourth thing is we need to check out the author's tune, the author's purpose in the text. And finally, we'll directly go to the answer choices, back, and do the process of elimination. We'll remove the answer choices that they're incorrect first, and then the remaining one would be our right choice for that. So this is how we can answer the inference question. So please go ahead with this social media post. Okay, thank you very much. Exactly. Yeah. Option C is the correct choice because it mentions, please sign up if you haven't yet. We're campaigning the list at 50 volunteers and closing registration by Friday, 6 p.m. It means people cannot participate if they just show up on Saturday morning. That's the correct choice. So, that's all for tonight. If there would be questions, I'm here to answer.